Welcome back to Simply Built, guys. Today we're going to show you our tool trailer. I'm going to show you the whole setup, talk about some of the build out, some of the money and time that we've put into this thing to make it an efficient headquarters of any job site we're on. All right, now I'll also give you guys kind of a little rundown on some of the things that I've done to this trailer and some of the things that I would like to change that I might do differently if I could do them over again. So let's get to it. All right, guys, let's start with the ladders here. We got 4 of them. I think we actually have a couple more in another trailer. We have a small 5-footer that has meandered into the trailer from my house. You're looking at about 125 bucks for those. Down below here, we have some 8-foot ladders. They're 50, 60 bucks more than that, probably around 180 bucks. And our longer ones, we kind of store up underneath this workbench area. This is a 12-foot A-frame. You can climb up both sides of that guy. Really stable, really safe. This guy actually was a special order through Home Depot's website, and that one was about 350 bucks. 10-foot ladder right here, about 250 bucks now. Your extension ladders, they're kind of hit or miss on price sometimes, but this one I think was probably about 300 bucks as well. Any kind of tricks that I could come up with to make things fit so that you could still have a walkway, but still be able to have all the ladders you need. You'll notice here that all the ladders we use are orange. Blue ones are a lighter weight capacity. And I think green is the intermediate, but we just trust the orange ones a lot more. So guys, we're gonna move on to compressors now. We have a small 5-gallon compressor. This one's on wheels, so you can just drag it right out of the trailer, take it right over to the power pole. Use this for medium, maybe some light duty work. You're not gonna be able to run 5 or 6 guys simultaneously on something this small, but this is good for small jobs, small crews. These ones probably 200-300 bucks. This one's from Harbor Freight actually. They're really durable for the price, and you can't beat that. Right behind that, we got the Big Bertha. This is a continuous run roll air belt drive. It's not just it is electric, but it's not just an electric compressor, it's a belt drive compressor on it. I want to say I paid about 1,800 bucks for this thing. I have successfully run 10 guys, 10 hoses, 10 nail guns simultaneously on this thing and never had a drop in air pressure. It has one drawback in being continuous run is that you always will hear that thing running in the background, and it's fairly loud. So park that thing as far away from the job site as possible if you don't want to hear that all day long. All right, guys, moving on to saws now. In our trade, cordless is king. I remember a time not too long ago where you still had a lot of these saws rolling around. That meant a lot of rolling out of cords and untangling cords throughout the day and then putting it all away every day. We still keep one of these on hand just for certain projects, certain tasks where you get a lot more power from a corded saw. That's not to say that these aren't good enough, but sometimes you just need the extra that a corded can provide. So here we have a DeWalt cordless. Now all of ours are like a right-handed geared saw, but we just like it. Most of us are right-handed. You can see the blade on the left side. That's the DeWalt. Here's a Milwaukee, same style. And that's in the M18 lineup. And then we have Makitas as well. And these ones are just a little different in the fact that they take a double 18-volt battery versus a single battery that DeWalt and Milwaukee does. So we have several of them, a couple of each at least. And then these guys, these are the dinosaurs. These used to be used a lot more, and they are probably nearing the end of their life, but this is a smaller blade setup. Whereas all these are a 7 1/4 blade, these are a 6 1/2. So these ones being the higher end, these are gonna be about 300 bucks just bare tool, so that's no battery. Probably come with a stock little DeWalt blade or something like that that they'll throw in the box with it. Next ones down are gonna be about $269 I'm showing for the Milwaukee saw. And then we got the Makitas. These ones bare tool, probably low 200s, maybe 225. These ones, even though are smaller blade, smaller battery, same battery I should say, it's all on the M18 platform. Those are showing up about 239. So a little bit higher than these, but once again, comparing apples to apples here, you're gonna get a lot more out of these guys than you will the 6 1/2 blade saws. One saw I forgot to mention, also back to the old corded platform, is this Bigfoot saw. This is gonna take a 10-inch blade. These are probably in the neighborhood of $600 or $700 for one of these saws. This is perfect for cutting beams, bigger lumber, glue lams. This one does not get busted out very often, but when it does, it's because we need that extra cutting depth. You can kind of see this setup. This was something that, as I was building out the trailer, I really wanted everything to be easy to grab, but it also needed to be secure so that when we're towing this thing around town, I'm gonna sneeze. Yeah, I covered the mic though just for you. As you kind of zoom in, you'll probably see that all of these shelves have a little bit of an incline on them, or a little bit of a slope that goes outward. So that's going to keep all these tools from bouncing around when we're going down the road, keeps them so they're not hitting each other that much. And then as I pull this guy out, you'll see I got a little slot that I've cut into the 3/4 there. And this is just your standard 3/4 T&G that we use for flooring on jobs. So these were scraps that were off the job site. Cut them to size, kind of templated where each saw was going to sit, and doesn't matter really one brand to another. They're all about the same spacing. And then set those saws all in there. We got a little extra space in the back. There's a blower you see there. When it came to things like Sawzalls, those ones aren't going to go into any kind of a groove or a slot, but we can take the batteries out of them and stack a few more in there. But this comes in handy a lot, just keep your blades from getting damaged, and guards and all the rest. So make that slot big enough so that that whole thing is going to sit right down in there, and you don't have to worry about breaking anything off when you go to pull that saw out of its spot. On to Sawzalls here. Once again, another tool that has gone cordless and is so handy. I'm holding the wrong tool. Is the Sawzall. So this is a Milwaukee version. They are actually, FYI, the first tool that ever came up with the name Sawzall. So I know everybody likes to call them Sawzalls, but Milwaukee's the only true one. Everybody else's are called a reciprocating saw. That was a little nerd alert for you right there. But here's the DeWalt version. So the Milwaukee Sawzalls we're showing these ones at about $249 bare tool, and then the DeWalt Sawzall, that's probably closer to $240, $250 even. All right, guys, roto hammers are next. Here's a little Milwaukee. This is gonna still run off the same M18 platform that all the other Milwaukee tools we have run on. It's just smaller, so we can get into tighter places with this thing. Still has a pretty good punch on it, so this one gets used quite a bit. And then we have the Big Red. This guy, you can put any size battery in this guy, and it will run and run and run. All right, so the main difference between these roto hammers is this is going to run on a standard SDS, which is this bit you see here. That's your standard SDS roto hammer bit. And then the Big Red one is going to run on what's called an SDS Max or a Super SDS. You can confirm that name in the comments if you'd like there. But this one you can see has the bigger hole in the end for the larger bits. Downside is now you have to have an arsenal of bits to use the two different roto hammers. Price-wise on those guys, you're probably looking at double, if not more, for the big roto hammer. These smaller ones are probably in the neighborhood of $250 as a bare tool, come with a case and a handle and all that kind of stuff. And then the bigger ones closer to maybe $600 bare tool on those. So up here in the front, the V-nose of the trailer, different trailers will have a different amount of V-nose or maybe even a slight round, but it's kind of used as more, it ends up being dead space. I wanted to kind of use this space for something, so I built in a couple of compartments here. This one on the right is going to be for our air hoses. You'll see some rigging straps and different things like that in the bottom there. And then the left side for electrical cords, which we still use, but not to the extent that we used to when everything was corded. A couple of different hoses you'll see in here are going to be the larger, we use these as like a lead hose. These are going to be a little spendier, and typically you're only going to find these in like 100-foot length. The smaller hoses, these ones are the ones that get drug around the job site quite a bit, and we have several of these that are anywhere from 50 feet long to 150 feet, depending on how many times they've been cut or nailed, and then they get spliced together to form a new hose at some point. So this one looks like it's about a 50-footer, and these ones I'm sure are probably more expensive than when I bought them. But we're showing those at about $41 each, so you could do the math on what a 150-footer would cost if you were to buy 350s and put them all together. Kind of in hindsight, when I first built this, it was really nice and it was really handy. This area wasn't as cluttered. Typically, a lot of our nails end up near the front of the trailer. We want to try to keep the weight balanced in this thing when it's being towed around. But in hindsight, not needing full depth of this for hoses and cords, it would be really cool to have this thing almost suspended, if you would, have a little compartment underneath. That could be where we put the spare tire, put some 5-gallon buckets, just some things that we don't need a whole lot, but it'd be still be nice to have them around. But then they're out of the way. Nail storage, staples, coils, and stuff like that would be nice to get those kind of pushed underneath there, tucked away, Still easy to grab, but not right in the walkway. All right, one thing that's a staple on our job sites is the ability, especially this time of year, to heat up your food. Some of the other things you might see is the LED lighting that we have. Looks like we got one that's burnt out here. These were a pretty cheap find, if I remember right, on Amazon, maybe 40 or 50 bucks, and you got 6 of them total. And they all link together with kind of a little pigtail of sorts that just plugs into each end. And I don't know if there was a limit on how many you could plug in together, but this does light up the trailer quite a bit. If the doors were closed, you can kind of tell a little bit more, but definitely handy to have the extra lighting in here. Typically these trailers will come with one little dome light, and it won't be enough to really sufficiently light the trailer. But so on to nail guns, guys. So these ones are hard to replace and make into a cordless feature because they run on air. They also deliver the most consistent amount of pressure and everything. So when you compare these to a cordless nailer, it's going to be kind of a night and day difference. But we have a couple of different styles and types in here. This is your old Hitachi brand before they kind of rebranded as Metabo. That's a 21-degree nailer. And then here's a newer version of the same thing. This one is the Metabo framing nailer. So pretty much the same kind of gun, just a different name on it. So this is the other brand, and then I'll talk price a little bit. So these are the New Tool, it's PNEU, New Tool brand. These ones are just as durable, I would say, as a Hitachi. They kind of have all of the same features. This one in particular is one of the 30-degree paper tape guns. So I would say price-wise, you're in the mid to upper 300s for the Hitachi Metabo ones. In the New Tool brand, whether it's 21-degree or the 30-degree paper tapes, you're in the low to mid 200s, so about $100 difference in price. Here's one of our 20-degree or 21-degree regular plastic strip collated nails go in that. These ones here you can kind of see it's a totally different nail. The 21 degrees seem to just shoot more consistent. They shoot at better depth. They're better at toe nailing, so we prefer a lot of these 21-degree guns. Once again, this kind of comes back to comparing a DeWalt to a Makita saw. These ones are $100 cheaper. They can take the same beating that a Hitachi or a Metabo can take, but you're not going to be spending as much to replace guns and replace parts on them. If your gun is $100 cheaper, it's a little bit of easier pill to swallow when one of those goes down. It's nice to have a lot of them on hand just in case you have that problem. Typically we have like a 4 or 5, maybe 6-man crew, so to have 8 guns in here, it's kind of nice. You're not really worried about a gun going down at any point. So the build out on this, these are a little bit different, and you can't make a little slot and just cut a hole in the sheet. So these ones kind of a steeper incline on the sheet here, and then I just built a little wall out of 3/4 plywood here and kind of just made separators here so we can get all the guns in there. They're not laying on each other. They're not gonna, get all caught up on each other. You can just grab the one you want and away you go. Steeper incline just because these tracks have the incline already on them built into the gun. So if you kind of do that, then the guns are just sitting in there and they're not going to move around while you're driving around. Moving on here, we got kind of a mix of different guns here. These are staplers. We got Tico guns. That's going to be your hardware fasteners. You got coil guns. We got a whole bunch of different stuff to talk about on this shelf alone. We're going to start here with the staplers. These ones, we typically are using these for putting on the wall sheeting of the house. These are going to be the go-to. These shoot like a 7/16 crown, medium crown nail, or staple, sorry. And typically we use these. They're about 1.5 inches long. These guns, these Metabos, are right in the $250 range right now price-wise. We have a couple of them here, a couple of the other brand. This is the New Tool brand, just like the framers I showed you. This one's actually currently broken, so we need to get this one fixed. But price-wise, you're probably looking about the same, maybe a little bit cheaper for these versus the Metabo brand. So on to what we call the Tico gun. The proper term for it is like a hardware fastener or metal connector, strap connector. They all have kind of a lot of different names they go by, but we like to call them Tico guns because they shoot a Tico nail. So this one's shooting just the 1.5 inch long ones. It does have the ability to shoot the shorter or the long, but you cannot shoot them, or you cannot have both sizes loaded into the gun at the same time. So you either take these ones out, load the longer ones in, and then keep on going. This is the boss stitch. We just barely added this to the arsenal, but this thing can range anywhere from low 200s to about $450. And that might depend on track length. That might depend on whether it shoots one or both nails. But these ones are just a powerhouse. They really do a good job for us. The one that you'll see majority of the time, probably that everybody knows about, is the Hitachi or the Metabo version. This one's a long track. Once again, it shoots the shorts and the longs. Kind of a workhorse. The downside is when they get a little bit older, they will take a lot of maintenance to keep going. So we've kind of tried to keep one in decent shape, and then we just added that boss stitch to make sure we're not down any guns. These are a little bit more expensive than the boss stitch. These are probably up in the high 300s per gun. Moving right along, we got our coil guns. We got 3 different coil guns here. First and foremost is the Max coil gun. This one is, when brand new in top-notch shape, is probably the best, most consistent, fast shooting coil gun that we have. Another dependable one, it's going to be the Metabo or the Hitachi. We got a couple of older ones that still have the Hitachi label on them. A little bit cheaper than the Max guns. The Max ones are up around 400 a piece. These are going to be probably closer to 300. They all have the same kind of features as far as different size nails. You can kind of adjust the centerpiece here to shoot different sizes. These are typically the 2 to 2 1/4 inch nails that we like to shoot. Moving right along, well, I'll show you, there's an old Hitachi, same as the Metabos, it's just an older version of it. Really good all-around guns, durable. And then these heavy-duty guys, I bought a few years back. They're probably double what they used to cost. These are up around 200 bucks a piece. They just are really nice for shooting down floors when we're sheeting a second floor. These are gonna shoot our ring shanks, and you're not gonna have any proud heads sticking up that you have to go back and hit in with your hammers. So same setup here as the framing guns down the way, just kind of a backboard with some dividers on it, a little bit of slope on the sheet here. And that's all just accomplished with setting this rail a little bit higher than the one in the back. Cut your sheet to fit. We've even screwed them down to the metal rails just so they're not moving around either. Keeps everything nice and organized, easy to get to. Moving on up to the top shelf here is a 16-foot aluminum plank. This one's probably 16 or 18 inches wide, 16 feet long. It's a Louisville, well known for their ladders, obviously. And this one I probably bought around the $500 or $600 price range. It's up around $1,000 now. So these things are really nice when you need to do some up high work. You don't want to move your ladder a whole bunch, or you're just nailing a bunch of hangers onto a girder or whatever. This is super safe, sturdy, and it's lightweight because it's aluminum, so one man can take this thing right off the shelf, take it into the job site wherever it needs to be set up. Kind of jerry-rigged this thing into place, just threw a couple little pieces of wood up here just to keep that plank from moving around. It doesn't really move that much anyways, but that brings our attention to the metal shelving unit itself. I've done some different build outs on different trailers over the years, and all of them I did out of wood. And then on this trailer decided to do metal shelving. I bought these at Home Depot. I think this is the Husky brand, and a little bit more cost, but talk about durable. This thing is carrying a lot of weight on it, and it doesn't have any signs that it's too much weight by any means. So I would definitely recommend this over building out your own wooden shelves if you have the ability to spend the extra money. All right, and last but not least on these shelving units, we have these hang-alls. I picked these up for a couple bucks a piece over at Harbor Freight. Just screwed them in with some metal self-tapping screws, threw them right up on the shelving unit itself, and this is where we can hang hoses, cords, bags. We like to try to keep it decluttered so that way we can get to the tools behind it easier, but every now and then this thing just gets covered in hoses and cords, lifting straps, all of our tool bags. And so every now and then we just got to clean it up a little bit, but this comes in handy because then your bags are right where you left them. You can get to them easy. Everybody takes their stuff off. Everything's accessible after that. So once again, I've told you about the pluses of having cordless tools. The drawback is you need to own a lot of batteries, especially if you are going through them like crazy, whether it's cutting material for walls, you're cutting in a roof. Either way, with all the cordless tools that we run, whether it's saws, sawzalls, grinders, routers, you name it, we'll get to some of those other tools that we haven't shown you yet. But here is kind of our storage area for all of our cordless tools. We have Milwaukee, DeWalt, and Makita. Picked up these cool little battery racks a couple years back from a company that is no longer in business. Found them on Instagram, thought I'd try it out, and liked them so much that I went ahead and bought a bunch more over the years before they went out of business, of course. And these were probably at the time running about 30, 35 bucks a piece. to hold 4 batteries. With the different styles of batteries, the Milwaukees actually will lock onto the holder. So you'll hear the click. That battery's not going to come off during travel. Then you'll have to depress those buttons just to get the batteries off. DeWalt's, they don't require you to push the button just to get them on or off. They'll still hold because they're on that nice little angle mounted to the wall. So that's all of our DeWalt batteries. And then Makita, easily distinguished by their color difference, so you know what batteries are going to go where. As far as battery prices, you're going to find them all over the board. So whether you're shopping on Amazon or eBay, or you're going into stores like Home Depot and Lowe's, some stores will carry certain ones, some stores don't. Safe to say, I would go from the smallest batteries up on the Milwaukees, anywhere from like $50 up to over $200 a battery. Sometimes they'll have sales around the holidays or whatever, where you're getting 2 batteries for the price of 1, or if you buy a certain tool, you'll get a free battery. And so that you just kind of have to find those deals. These have been accumulated over, many years, over several years now. But Milwaukee, with the M18 platform, has anything from the 5 amp, at least that we have. They go down to like a 2 amp battery in the M18 series, but these are the 5 amp, a little bit smaller battery. We just kind of have a nice little array of them to choose from. Moving on to the DeWalt's, these are going to be probably the more spendy batteries. These, especially these 9.0 flex volts, really sweet batteries. Going back to what I said about the saws being probably the cream of the crop as far as cordless saws go, and these batteries match that. The amount of demand that those saws take, these batteries deliver. It's basically like having 3 batteries in one, going from the 20 volt to the 60 volt, and it's all just a way that they kind of array the batteries in the pack itself. With that, of course, you're going to be spending a little bit more, a couple $100 a battery at least, if not even more. With some of the lithium shortages that we've seen lately, batteries kind of went through the roof. So it's really kind of hit or miss on whether you're going to get a good deal or you're just going to get gouged on battery prices. So moving on down the line, we got our Makita batteries. Price wise on these, you're probably looking at a 2-pack of these for about $160 on the 5 amps. These 3 amp hour batteries up above, a little bit cheaper, about $130 for a 2-pack. That's our battery storage setup. As far as charging, you wouldn't want to have all these chargers plugged in it right at the power pole. We went ahead and put a power strip in. Has a little pigtail on it. We could plug that right into the power pole, bring power into the trailer, hence the lighting that we have in here, as well as the ability to charge several batteries at a time. So here you got a couple of DeWalt chargers. These batteries are still going. That one's about done. Normally I like to keep them all up inside the toolbox, but when you have this many chargers, it kind of spills over. So once again, there's the power strip. Brings us over here to the toolbox, which actually has a power strip built into it and a cord coming out of the back. We got that plugged in right there. And then as you can see here, we have 2 double Makita chargers. It's going to charge 2 batteries at a time. And then we have 3 Milwaukee chargers and 1 DeWalt, as well as the 2 that you just saw there on the workbench area. And most of these batteries are good to go. We can hang those up. We also like to store our lasers, whether it's a line laser, a plumb laser. We like to keep those up in here. One of the really nice things about this toolbox is, most toolbox have this, is you can lock the drawers so that they don't open, and then just pop this thing down. Anytime you're about ready to move the trailer, those chargers and batteries are not going to come falling out, tumbling all over the trailer as you're driving around. Unlock the drawers again. Nice thing about toolboxes is they beg to have stickers put on them. So that's kind of going to be hard to put a price on because those are all free stickers. So as far as storage goes, kind of organization is key, obviously, when you're building out a trailer. So we like to kind of keep things in the same places so we can find them easy. This is kind of a catch-all junk drawer, if you would. This is going to be our go-to drawer for bits. Next couple drawers are going to be a lot of different air parts, and that's going to be what these 2 drawers are full of. So bottom drawer over here is going to be a lot of our roto hammer bits, chisel bits, sawzall blades, big old pipe wrench there if you need it for something. There's going to be more bits, except they're going to be in their cases. We've got some zip ties, some extra tape measures, 100-foot tapes. These come in handy on layout days when we're first starting to snap out a slab. I prefer the metal ones over the vinyl ones, as you've heard in previous videos. Wrenches, got some chisels, got some wire cutters. Top drawer is going to be auger bits, paddle bits, spade bits. This is kind of a wooden built out section here. I just wanted to have some areas to put different things, whether it's hand soap and bottles of chalk. We got lacquer spray, air tool oil, kind of just random stuff in some cubbies, as well as some of our smaller cordless tools that you don't really want to put over here mixed in with all the other stuff. So they fit nice and good in these little cubbies. Same kind of concept here is all the shelves have a little bit of an incline on them. That's going to keep things in so that they're not rolling out, falling off the shelves. Requires less bungeeing and things like that to keep things from falling off the shelves this way. And honestly, I don't think I've ever seen anything fall off these shelves. So pretty nice to have. And we try to separate different tools so that we can get to them easier. Once again, it's all about convenience and knowing where things are. So this cubby here has got a couple routers, couple grinders, cordless planer. Down in this bin, we got a lot of our impacts. This is a heavy duty impact for second down bottom plates and hold downs. You got your smaller impacts, regular drill drivers for drilling holes and stuff where you don't need the impact, so to speak. So with a lot of these drills, you can buy these in kind of a, combo kit of sorts, and they'll have, an impact and a drill driver, which is basically just one of each of these. They might come with 1 or 2 batteries and a charger. Sometimes you can buy them online just as a bare tool or different kind of combination kits. So we also like to keep a lot of different screws and bolts and things like that on hand, so we're not having to run to the store or order it. Kind of a catch-all area for some of that stuff. Up above us on the ceiling actually is where we keep our framing squares. Those are going to be behind you. These guys just slide in kind of right over the frame. Keeps them nice and straight so they're not getting banged up or bent, sitting on a shelf somewhere or ending up on the floor. Moving back up here, some of the basics that every framing crew likes to keep on hand is going to be your painkillers and wipies. You got to enjoy the go. Right up here above the batteries, we have some more of these hang-alls that I've put in. Just kind of put them on a weird little skew so that we can hang our levels up here. It's going to be our shorter 4-foot, 5-foot levels. Those are probably anywhere from $40 to $120, depending on brand, of course, and size of the level. These are Stanleys, those are Stabilas, obviously a price difference there. Back here at the end of the workbench, we built out a little extra area here. It was kind of an afterthought, but it was nice to have. This level, it's about a 5-footer like that one, but it doesn't have the cool hanging slots on it. So you can throw that in there. We got a big plate level. This thing can go up to about 13 feet once it's extended out. 8-foot jam level, if you want to call it. And that's nice to have those here. They're not getting beat up and bent up. They're nice and safe right there. They're not going to move anywhere. All right, so last couple of items that I'll show you guys here in the trailer. This is our job site radio. This is the Milwaukee version, so it actually runs, whether it's on a battery in here or a cord on this side, you can plug this thing in. It actually becomes a battery charger at that point. So you can plug this into a power source and then charge batteries right there on the job site, still be listening to music. This one has all the little bells and whistles, Bluetooth, AM, FM, all that good stuff. Has some USB ports on it too, but we pretty much just use Bluetooth. Got a little pack out box for the top. So sometimes it's nice to keep truss papers, engineering, small paper that you don't want blowing away on the job site. Keep those right here in the top, and that's nice because that's going to be right there on the job site with you. You don't have to worry about going all the way back to the trailer for it. Another cool thing, kind of back to the ladders, is these things. These are a drywall sawhorse. I probably shouldn't say the name that we call it on camera. They're called trigger bitches. So with these trigger bitch aluminum sawhorses, these come in handy when you don't need a 6-foot level, 6-foot ladder. You don't need any size of ladder because you can grab one of these guys and this will get you to the top of an 8-foot or a 9-foot wall. Pretty easy. They do double as a sawhorse sometimes, and every now and then you'll find one of these with a saw mark right across the top because somebody didn't pay attention to what they were cutting and what was below it. But these are kind of part of the ladder arsenal, and these ones I want to say they were probably in the range of about $100 to $150 each. We have a couple of these that we keep on hand, and if nothing else, they're really nice to sit on at lunchtime. So that's the trailer tour. Kind of in a nutshell, I'll let you know that this was obviously years of accumulation, years of ideas. I've had a few trailers over the years. My first one was about a 10-foot enclosed, and I've worked up to this 20-footer here. And depending on your crew size, depending on your budget, you can build out whatever trailer you have for fairly cheap. And honestly, if you're good at what you do and you're making money, paying for metal shelving and organization stuff is going to be not a budget breaker. It's really going to be worth every single penny that you spend. This makes our job so much easier to be able to come in here, get what we need, and get out. You're not searching for things. So there's days where it gets to be a mess and we have to clean it up. But I would say all told, we're probably looking at about 20 grand worth of stuff in here. It doesn't have to be near as full as ours is. And like I said, if you have a smaller crew, you might only need one shelving unit, or you might only need a few levels or half as many batteries. But one thing that has worked well for us is being able to fit it all into the places that it's at. So that way it's not cluttering up the walkway, but everything is in here that we need from one job to the next. And if a guy has to break off to go do some work at another job site, he can come in here and grab a few tools, throw them in his truck, and away he goes. Doesn't slow anybody else down because there's not a whole bunch of stuff missing. All right, guys, so once again, thanks for coming along on this video, and we'll update you guys if this trailer changes, or if we get a new one and we change a layout, or we come up with some cool ideas. Hope you guys liked some of this, and hopefully it gives you guys some ideas on what you want to do to your own trailer. Feel free to comment if you have any questions, or if you have any ideas that we might be able to use to make this thing even more efficient. So once again, just thank you guys for coming along. This is Simply Built 435.